Okay.
Jill, how are we doing? You're
Thanks, Ann.
Good morning, everybody. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. And look forward to a good day. We are being taped, so when you stand to state something, please state your full name so that the camera will know who's talking, because it's only focusing this way rather than the whole crowd. Okay. Community update. Franklin.
End of the Mako meeting last week in Helena, I guess it was, and one solid waste meeting.
Very good. And how did those go?
Mako, a lot of meetings, some was pretty interesting.
Good. Laura.
I also attended the Mako meeting last week. There's a couple of things, and I'll bring them up. I think we need to schedule a time block to go through some of it. But a couple of the things that we will need to address fairly quickly is the mental health funding issue. There's a couple of things. The Health and Human Services Committee, chaired by Carl Silstad, discussed it at length. I didn't attend that meeting because I serve on the Public Safety and Justice Committee, but afterwards heard about it, and there's some issues with the funding. So a number of counties that are served in our region met with the governor's office, Tim Burton, Jim Malloy, Tara Skierman, and Dan Villa, and then also with the head of DPHHS, Richard Opper, to kind of get to the bottom of the funding so that we can keep mental health services local. So we're going to have a task force that's going to work on that. We need to pay our bill. We were advised not to at this point till things got straightened out. That is all funds that are matched 2-1 on the state level, and that's part of how the formula works. It goes from the counties to the state, matched 2-1, and then that money goes directly to the centers that serve people with mental health needs. Also, the meetings are on Mondays, and we've had somebody going for us, and that's Mary Ellen Schnurr. I think that needs to continue, but we also need to have a presence at those meetings so that we're a little bit more aware of the issues, especially with funding, since we write the checks. So that was one piece that I wanted to bring back. The other is the LAC, the Local Advisory Council, again for mental health services. We kind of tasked Mary Ellen with putting that together. And it's actually quite an undertaking, and I think it would be wise to actually put together a working meeting together with her, go through what needs to be done, what the purpose is, who needs to sit on it, why, and then get those partners to come in and establish a schedule for that. So that was one of the takeaways from the Mako conference, and that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. Came back for the solid waste meeting on recycling. It was well attended.
Is this court, Justice Court?
Nope, just go out the door straight down the hall. And then we had the solid waste board meeting. I don't know how many people were there, 40, give or take. And then we had Leadership Montana Thursday and Friday, the signature event for the state in Helena. And we had the head of the ethics department for U of M was the first speaker. The second was a panel discussion, and it was with Congressman Pat Williams, your old boss, Bob Brown, who was Secretary of State, State Senator, and President of the Senate, and Chuck Johnson, who's a reporter, well-respected Montana reporter. And the topic was civility. How did we get here? And and it was the topic of the lack of civility in public discourse. And come to realize, Pat Williams and Bob Brown are actually best friends, is the term they used, which is neat when one is a Democrat and the other's a Republican. But they played off each other very well. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is, in the past, in Congress, there were several places where you could go to find a place to work together across the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, out of the TV cameras. And for the men, that no longer exists. It used to be the last place was the bathroom that the men went to be able to talk amongst themselves. There's one place left in Congress where there's still civility, and that's the women's bathroom. Women will actually go there and spend hours, and they're working on bills trying to find common ground. Bob Brown talked about at the state level how years ago a Democrat could walk into the Republican meeting room, and vice versa, Republican could walk into the Democrat meeting room, and they could actually hash out a bill, hash out, you know, how to work on something together. And there's a lot of bills that have both sides as sponsors. Today, a Republican or Democrat walks into the other's meeting room, and it is utter silence, and they stare down that person until they turn around and leave. So that was sad. I thought sad for our state, sad for our country, sad for our communities. But both offered ideas. It was actually very positive in the end. So that was the week, Madam Chair.
Sounds like it was a busy week.
It was.
I just have one PS on Bob Brown and Congressman Williams. When Bob Brown first left the office as Secretary of State, he and Pat Williams both went to work at Missoula at the university and shared an office there.
Ah.
I attended the fire board meeting, and I just say hats off to them. They were given a huge truck, and I mean huge, at no cost to the county. And the only difference was that somebody had to go to Utah and drive it back, and Ed was willing to do that. So, a very much of a plus. And also LAPC meeting the week before, and in fact, all three of us were at that one. So, very good. Okay. John, come on down. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you, Commissioner Braley?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hey, thank you for coming to our meetings, and thank you, Commissioner Holbert, for attending every other month. We appreciate that, so thank you to the commissioners on that. Just a monthly update for the Broadwater County Rural Fire District. I am Vice Chairman of the Rural County Fire District, and last month we made it official. We created a new position within the fire district. The position is the Broadwater County Rural Fire District Fire Administrator. And we hired Ed Schindel to take that position on, and so it's a full-time position. Over the last few years, we've been working on this and trying to figure out how we can fit it into our budget, and I think some of that has to do with the increase in the mill value, has put us in a fairly good position. I mean, we aren't asking for any more additional funding. We're taking it out of our own budget that we already have in existence, and so we feel that we can do that. And so it's not gonna be any new money requested from taxpayers or anything like that. And so we're really happy for Ed to be willing to take that position. He's still the fire chief for the rural district. That's voted on by our bylaws through the firefighters, volunteer firefighters, and so he's still the Broadwater County Rural Fire District Fire Chief. And so it's gonna be separate. He's gonna be doing the fire chief stuff as well as fire administrator. A lot of the things that are going on as far as creating this position is just more red tape and reporting that needs to be done and things that need to be taken care of in each one of the rural fire halls. And so we need someone full-time. Ed has done a very good job over the years to do as much as he can. I mean, he'd have to work a full-time job and then he'd come in after work, and I think he'd spend anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week as a volunteer. And we just felt that, you know, it's time to try to create this position. So that's what we're doing, and so his benefits and his salary is paid fully by the fire district. And so we are gonna do that. We finally got one of our newest tender truck in service. It's in Townsend. One of the deals there was we bought a truck. It was a pretty inexpensive truck 3 years ago, I think it was, and it just took a matter of time to get this in service. And Larry Van Dyke wanted an old truck that we had bought, had water tank on, and he agreed to put the water tank on the new truck, and we had it painted, and it's all in service now. And so we're happy for that. Another tender for, you know, fire suppression on that. The next thing is, as Commissioner Gregory, you stated, we did receive a new truck. It's a 2009 Peterbilt 6x6. It was a military surplus vehicle. The position that Ed is in, he has the ability to find things that cost very little to the fire district. It's unbelievable. I think the bill to get this truck to us, and all we had to do was go down to Salt Lake to get it, and I think he spent $400 in fuel and his hotel and everything like that. So it's very inexpensive to get this truck in. And we're looking at the possibility of putting a fire engine, making it into a structured truck, and we're waiting for some bids on that to see just how much it's gonna cost us to do that. So that's what we got going on there.
That truck is huge.
It is. It'll go anywhere. That.
I was amazed. I thought, how are they even gonna get into that thing?
Yeah, you climb up. It's a step ladder.
I'm sure of that.
On that, but it's an automatic, and, you know, with very minimal training, you know, to the firefighters, you know, once we get it, you know, in service the way we want it, you know, Ed'll be able to train almost any firefighter to drive that truck, which is very nice. So it'll be a good addition to the fire department.
Did you say it's automatic?
It is an automatic transmission, yep. So that's a good thing there. Won't have to worry about burning out clutches or anything like that, so. We're still working on the possibility of a remodel or an addition to the Winston Fire Hall. It's just any more the size of trucks that we need. We want to get our goal is to get a structured truck out at the Winston Fire Hall, and the size of the fire hall is just too small to fit a structured truck in, and so we're still working on that possibility too, on that.
Any leads that way?
We're working on it. We have a committee put together, and so it's just hard to get the committee together, and you know, it's one of those things, it's a work in progress on that. I do want to point out, if I can go back up to the fire administrator job. One of the trustees recused himself from any negotiations and discussion on that, just to prevent any type of nepotism law on that. And so it was a unanimous vote between the 4 other trustees on the board when we created that position.
Very good.
On that. So just have that on the record as well. So I'm open for questions, discussions.
And I told you I'd check into the insurance stuff, and Debbie's on vacation, so
Right,
as soon as she
right.
gets back, I'll.
Yep, okay, that sounds good. So,
Madam Chair, one of the reasons we go to conference is to network and ask other commissioners what they're doing about this issue, that issue. And it just came up in passing, the administrative position with Harold over lunch one day. We can actually cover him under the county insurance if you guys want, and Debbie can do the payroll for you guys because you are a county entity. And she's already doing it for everybody, it's just another line. So that is all totally legal. We can do it if you guys want.
And it's out of the fire district money.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, but we would provide the services and the technical expertise.
okay, that sounds great. And I did talk to Debbie before she went on vacation as well, and she said that after this meeting, we could get everything, like you said, after she got back from vacation, we could get things set up and going, and so we can do that. So I
Good.
appreciate that information.
I just say hats off to the fire district. I mean, I think you guys do a wonderful job.
Well, thank you.
All these trucks you've gotten for $0.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah. I guess one of the things, you know, I've been on the board of trustees for 13 years. It'll be 13 years in December. And, you know, I've learned a lot over the years, you know, not being a volunteer firefighter. You know, a lot of the firefighters say, you should be a volunteer too. And I told them I'd just soon be on the board of trustees and do my service that way. And I think it's good to have non-firefighters on the board of trustees, but then also have a couple of the firefighters on there as well, because they bring a lot of that information to the table on that. And so I've learned a lot about budgeting as far as county budgeting goes, and so it's a good deal. It's really good on that, so thank you on that. And I guess we try to be frugal with our spending and make sure that we keep the trucks and the fire stations up to snuff. And, you know, because if you look at our bylaws, first and foremost is safety is number one. Number one purpose of the fire district is to save lives. Number two is to save structures. And then number three is to save wildlands. And so we make a point to make sure that safety is upmost. You know, we may have some equipment that's in some of the fire halls that is not used, and thank God that it is not used, but we have it available if we need to use it. Because if we can save lives first, that's what we want to do, because we're first responders to almost every incident there is in Broadwater.
One question I have, John.
Yeah.
Ed, he'll take care of the biggest complaint I hear from firemen and stuff, you know, they do their volunteer, we do fight the fires, then they have to come in and do the maintenance and
Right,
stuff.
right.
And do all these reports, so
Yep.
he's gonna be taking care of that, so that'll free them up.
Yeah, we have the, you know, the duties of his job, and it's a work in progress, but we're adding that to that. But yeah, we're gonna work on the maintenance issue, and that'll give Ed the opportunity to, you know, go out to, like, say, the Toston, or Raidersburg, or the Park Trail Fire Hall, and make sure that truck is, you know, those trucks are okay and up to snuff. And some of these larger trucks anymore, as far as maintenance goes, oil changes, things like that, we do have to take them like to Tim's Diesel or something like that, just because there's such huge trucks anymore, you know, and they're, you know, more like semi-type tractors on that. But yeah, that was one of the goals of trying to create this position and make sure that we could do that, because we do believe in the long run it's gonna save the fire district money by keeping those trucks maintained and, you know, on a regular schedule.
Because one of the firemen said, you know, he says, it's hard to get volunteers anymore, because of all this other work, they
Exactly.
don't mind going to the fires and doing the
Right.
training, but when they have to do it, this other stuff,
Right.
it's,
Yeah, yep.
it digs in there quite a
Yeah.
bit for their time.
Oh,
so.
yeah, yep, that's for sure. I agree
And the ones
100%.
that have to write all these reports, I think,
Yep.
usually, I think there's some women each station that does it, you know,
Mhm.
free at this point, so.
Oh, yeah, yep.
so.
And that's why we didn't wanna tie this position to the fire chief job, because we feel as an administrator, you can cover more bases on that within the fire district. And so, you know, because we go from Winston all the way south to Road 101 with our fire district, rural fire district, and we help the Townsend Fire Hall as well on that, so. But that is a work in progress, and that's what we're planning to do, you bet, yep,
That's good.
okay.
You know, I noticed one thing in every fire board meeting, it comes up, and each one of the fire halls has a chief, I guess you would say,
You know, a battalion chief.
and he reports on the conditions of the trucks and conditions of the buildings
Mhm.
and anything else that might be going on. So that was very well taken care of.
You bet, yep. So, yeah, that's the whole goal, is to get that red tape and paperwork done in the main office,
So, I know when I was still in fire department, more and more of that stuff was going, it's just red tape and just a bunch
Yep,
of
it's
uncalled
so
for
much.
stuff, but I guess we don't have any
You
choice
know,
on it.
new fire regulations, new rules, new laws that we have to follow and maintain. So that's what the goal is, to do this, so,
Good.
all right.
Anything else from the board?
No, you guys really do work well. Your board, the guys at the different fire stations, hats off to you,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, and so everybody's welcome to our meetings, they're third Wednesday of the month, public's welcome. So, we always have you know, on our agenda, we have public comment period, and very seldom do we have any public comments to be made, but every once in a while we do, and we appreciate those comments. And if we don't hear the complaints or what's good, what's bad from the public, we just assume we're doing our job and taking care of business. So
You can't correct what you don't know.
that's right. All right.
Anything else?
Maybe, are you starting some more volunteers, a new roster, or?
Yeah, Ed,
This winter,
I think
probably.
Ed's gonna try to work on some new volunteers, you know, that's one of the things that he wants to do is, and he believes by being full-time, you know, in the fire hall here in Townsend, that he can get that job done a little bit better than what it has been in the past, so we hopefully we can get some more volunteers on that, you know.
Yeah,
and
big
it's-
thing, you're not
yeah.
short-handed.
Yep, you know, it's kind of one of those things, a thankless job, you know, and all you get is a thanks for it, and that's about it, and a lot of people don't wanna do that anymore for nothing, but unfortunately, on that, but,
How many volunteers do you have? Do you know?
I honestly don't know. I think the Toston Radersburg Park Trail Fire, you know, that section is the largest. Bart DeMartin can probably tell you how many for sure, I would think, or Rick. I honestly don't know how many.
Do you know, Barb?
I think we have 17, probably a dozen of those are very active. I mean, they can be counted on, and if you get a big fire, there will be at least 17.
I do know if there's a large fire, if it wasn't for Toston Radersburg Park Trail, those volunteers in that area, it'd be hard to maintain a good crew on that. I think there's 5 or 6 in the Duck Creek Fire District, in the Duck Creek, maybe 5 or 6 in the Townsend, and then maybe 8 or 9 up in Winston.
Winston.
Yeah, I think
Only 5 here in town?
so.
How many's the city got, do you know?
6 or 7, I
Is that
think,
okay?
yeah, and so, you know, anything within the city limits, you know, they pretty much depend on their road district coming in and help them, you know, if there's
Yeah.
something major. I mean, unfortunately, you know, it's just, you know, we try to get as many people as we can to volunteer and, you know, spend the time and take the time for training and everything, and I think that's, it seems like when Ed gives those reports, he can get the volunteers going, but to maintain the training after that initial, after those cadets are, quote, graduate, you know, the initial training, monthly trainings, and the hours that you have to put in, that's where it's hard to keep those volunteers trained and up, you know, up to code on that, so. But we can get a few, and, you know, there was, like, last year we trained 5 or 6, so, I mean, if we could do 5 or 6 to 10 a year, you know, that would help on that, so,
Well, job well done.
okay, thank you.
Okay. I think we've got time for a bit of that. This is a letter, pardon me, from wanting us to fill out a planning across survey across different generations, and it's a multi-generational planning survey that we need to fill out and sign. Okay. Payroll, $136,823.74.
I will move that we pay payroll.
I'll say.
It's moved and seconded to pay payroll in the amount of $136,823.74. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Elaine, I just put those in there to separate them, but it's nothing more than just regular claims.
Okay. It's a claim from Northwest Energy for the ambulance building. $251.04. claims in the amount of $70,025.47.
We'll move that we pay those approved claims.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded that we pay the approved claims in the amount of $70,025.47. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Just want that back.
I do,
All right.
just so I can keep track of what's in. Here is a letter that we are sending to the Major General of the Montana National Guard, a letter of support for Montana Army National Guard compatible use buffer proposal. Dear General Quinn, Broadwater County is in concert with the City of Townsend, the City of Helena, and Lewis and Clark County in the process of conducting a joint land use study with the Montana Army National Guard to address planning and development issues of mutual concern surrounding both the Limestone Hills Training Area and Fort Harrison. On September 16, 2013, Deborah LaFontaine from the Montana Department of Military Affairs made a presentation to the county regarding the Army compatible use buffer. Pardon me. Broadwater County believes that the ACUB, in partnership with MTRANG, offers an excellent opportunity to focus on mutually beneficial land conservation efforts surrounding the Limestone Hills. The ACUB program will help to ensure not only the continued military training in Limestone Hills, but also help preserve existing open space, a critical wildlife habitat, and working agricultural lands in concert with the interested landowners, thus managing growth and development around the training site. The ACUB will also complement current JULS planning efforts as it is completed over the next 18 months. Because of this, Broadwater County is pleased to support the ACUB program in Montana, offer our services as a partner in seeking and securing potential land acquisition and/or conservation easement opportunities in conjunction with the interested landowners on lands adjacent to the Limestone Hills. Thank you for your consideration. So, I believe that we made a motion to approve this before.
We did, yes. Elaine, do you want Franklin and I to sign that as well?
I think that would be a wonderful idea.
You know, I talked about that last meeting, it's kind of a, I don't know if it's a big land grab, I tell you what, on that map that she presented to us, all that area showed their firing range, they showed, well, everything in Radersburg, other than the town itself, is in, I know, all along the Radersburg Highway there, clear over on this side, so I'm not in favor of it at this point.
Okay.
I do have to back us up a little bit. It was discussed in great detail what it is, and land grab, I think, is grossly misrepresenting what it is. It is nothing more than a ability for the National Guard to work better with the adjacent landowners. They have to put in for 4 different areas, both with Fort Harrison and with the Limestone Hills. We are number 4. Chances are we're not going to see any of the benefit if it comes to being. But for landowners who are adjacent or right underneath a flight path, all it does is give the National Guard a pot of money in order to work with those landowners to help them turn it into CRP if they want. If they don't want, there's nothing to be done. If they do, if it was land they had planned on subdividing and now it's under a flight path, this gives a landowner the ability not to have lost their investment. That's all it is. It's totally up to a landowner to say no or to say yes. And if a landowner says, yes, National Guard, will you please work with me, it gives them the ability to do that. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. It is absolutely not a land grab.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. State your name.
Alan Wright. I don't remember when it was, a couple of weeks ago, when there was a couple ladies here, that, the map that you were talking about. And outside in the hallway, we discussed a little bit, plus I've been discussing with National Guard. Because in some respects, it's almost like we have two different entities that we're actually talking about when we just talk about National Guard. Because the way I understand it from the Guard, if by March of next year, if their permits does not be completed 100%, then they have the potential ability of losing the permitting process for the last 15 to 20 years. And then the Department of Defense takes over. National Guard is then, they're not removed, but they are diminished in their role of any type of control, say. Then then that facility becomes the Department of Defense. Now, the Department of Defense may have a totally different attitude in their administrating of their authority than the National Guard. If you have, I don't know if you kind of get my drift there, but, and by my discussion with the Guard, and it's not that they're knocking one way or another, they were just saying the way it is. All right, and so one of the things that I would have a question of maybe it not going too fast with this is first, we're right now, you're addressing the National Guard, but maybe by next March, you might be addressing the Department of Defense. So maybe if you could get an input from the Department of Defense, because it's going that way. They've been waiting for 12, 14 years for Congress to okay their permits. Well, I don't know, one would say that if you haven't got an okay in 10 years, then there's a good chance you're not gonna get an okay. So then the Department of Defense will take over. That's just a concern that I have because of having adjoining properties and somewhat adjoining, and of concerns. We're waiting for some information from National Guard right now that I thought maybe I would have had a week ago. So that's a concern that I would have is we're talking to the National Guard right now. Next month we could be talking to the Department of Defense. And you know how that all changes. Well, that wasn't our decision. We weren't part of it. I wasn't there. But we have a whole new set of rules that we want to put. But if we commit ourselves to certain things, then they'll say, well, you've already agreed in writing. Because I do believe that there is a strong possibility that this is the beginning of a potential, I love that word, of condemning 4 flight paths. This is kind of like the easy way in. Let's see what develops. Because the question I asked the lady in National Guard, what is the significance of this area for flight paths? When they already fly in over by what they said. Public lands are not an issue of this, but they seem to have a lot of access right now to public lands on the one end. So what is the significance of the flight path of this expanded area? And I'm not speaking for other landowners, don't get me wrong, I'm just concerned for the whole general area. Because some of the people that I've talked to since that meeting knew nothing about it, that meeting occurred. And so, as a concerned citizen of the community and landowner, that's just a couple of concerns that I have.
Thank you for checking to it. Paul, you had a question?
I have an observation. What they're asking, my name is Paul Bray, by the way. What they're asking for here is our support to do a study to possibly fund a
a unit that would be able to negotiate with landowners for a conservation easement or for purchase, dealing only with a willing landowner. If anyone who has lived near a big city has seen housing developments under the flight path of an airport, and first thing you know, people build a house under there, and then they start complaining and suing because the airplanes make too much noise. We're not talking about a flight path for the gun range out here. What we're talking about is noise from the guns. And we're talking about people who might want to make a housing development there during a time when it's quiet, like now. And then the National Guard comes there in 2 weeks and they're practicing with their big guns, and these people say, oh my God, you're making too much noise. Let's let these landowners have an opportunity to have a conservation easement that would prevent development under there and would still reimburse the landowner for the value of his land.
Thank you. John?
Shawn, right. Well, I just listened to what he said, and anybody could tell me, because I live on Indian Creek Road at 575 Indian Creek, which is a 911 address. Where I live, and I've lived there since the early 80s, is in a flight plan. Now it's happening at night, and the planes are getting bigger. They rumble, actually come over and low enough to rumble glasses and things. Tell me I'm not in a flight plan, I'll tell anybody they're crazy. Now, as an individual, I'm in this expanded area because before, like Alan said, the Sunday West from the National Guard we've had a lot of meetings with her and new maps, and in fact we just got one recently that's a photograph of the property line, and we got a pin that's on our property that divides our property, and also in this buffer zone they move way on over to the a mile out, long way from us, which is the Shep's Ridge, which they're planning on putting in a fence line.
Would
For
you
the
tell me
cow.
that woman's name again, please?
Sunday West. Now, she's been very cooperative, she's a very nice gal. I mean, it's a smooth, and we've had numerous meetings within the past 6 months here over this issue, which Alan very shallowly addressed. We are negotiating, you're negotiating with the Bureau of, well, not a bureau, but the National Guard, and Sunday West is one of their main officers. Readily available, she will come and meet you and present you with stacks of stacks of stacks, which I got. And it's a repetitious thing that goes on and on and on, and she admits, we're out of here. It's all but done. Over the telephone conversations and communications back and forth here in the county as well. And when it's all said and done, the military is already developing their facilities over here to take over, which nobody seems to want to add up to. All of these trucks with concrete, steel, form boards, pumping trucks, big truckloads of piping and other facilities. They're building something over there, and you can't see it from the surface because it's underground. It's a no-fly zone right now. You won't get shot down, but you'll get called down.
Thank you, John.
Well, the point of it is that I'm trying to make with this whole thing is you've got to address the issue as it stands. You're dealing with the National Guard, but in reality, the military is already there doing their thing. And it's actually irresponsible to just think that you're dealing with the National Guard. Thank you.
I personally will call this Sunday West and invite her to one of our meetings.
That'd be beautiful.
Thank you. All right, Shawn, you're on. Come on.
Actually, I think Tim's on.
Oh, okay, Tim, who's ever first?
Who is up on first and what's on second? And-
That's right.
Okay. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Tim Ravndal. And just for clarification, I requested to be on the agenda 3 weeks ago. And scheduling and everything else, things didn't work out. And what I wanted to be on this agenda for was to talk about a couple of different things that's going on in the county here. And I have a presentation here. It's going to bear with me. It'll take me about 12 minutes. I've timed it to go through this. And I think maybe if I take a couple of shortcuts, I'll be in even better time than that. And then we can have a more of a discussion on it. So, Madam Chair, if you would indulge me on this, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. Again, good morning. My name is Tim Ravndal. I'm a resident of Broadwater County, and there's several issues here, and I'm going to start with the first one, which is the Deep Creek Grant Program. Excuse me. Broadwater County currently has a DES coordinator on administrative leave pending an investigation into allegations of a conflict of interest and possible improper use of federal funds. This investigation is ongoing and has cost the taxpayers of Broadwater County thousands of dollars, and the bill continues to climb. At one point, the county appointed Nicole Brown in the planning department to act as temporary point of contact for emergency grant funding. And I see Nicole was here, so I'm glad to see that. It is unknown if this employee is still acting in this position for the county. It is also unknown if this position has any reporting procedures established as required by the grant administration programs. There is no documentation to point one way or another. Mr. Mike Koehnke has been hired by the county as interim DES coordinator and has a contract for services under his job description on file with the county. This is a part-time position that is paid for by the county and EMPG grant funding that is administered by the Department of Emergency Services, MTDES. Under the contract for services as a department employee, Mr. Koehnke is responsible for the emergency planning in the county and the administration and reporting requirements under the EMPG grant program. Other emergency mitigation grant programs are also administered through other federal agencies. It does not appear that there is a detailed reporting requirement provided with this position. It is important to take a close look at this, as the ongoing investigation mentioned earlier in this part is the result of a failure to properly record and/or administer the grant programs in the county. Broadwater County is currently under contract with WWC Engineering for the floodplain coordinator position. Mr. Shawn Higley is the responsible representative that is listed under this contract with the county. In August of this year, Mr. Higley was also appointed as, quote, applicants agent, which is a created position here with the county for hazard mitigation grant program acquisition project. In a letter appointment date of August 22nd, Mr. Higley is officially recognized to be empowered to act on behalf of Broadwater County with regard to hazard mitigation grant proposals and projects. Mr. Higley has no job description with this appointment, nor is there any accounting for the process associated with the new position. The Deep Creek grant is purported to be worth $1.3 million. This funding is tax dollars allocated from FEMA and/or Department of Homeland Security. It is impossible to properly administer this grant if the application that has previously been filed has not been made available. The county clerk and recorder does not have a copy on file. The interim DES coordinator does not have a copy on file. The Broadwater County Conservation District does not have a copy on file. It is also noted that under the same principal project area, the Conservation District has applied for a grant that is in a combination of state and federal funding for the Deep Creek watershed. Citizens must ask how much funding, total funding, is being allocated for the Deep Creek, and is there a possible duplication in services? Will Mr. Higley be responsible for weekly reporting of activity? If not, reporting schedule, what reporting schedule does his position require? Who will be, these are just some questions that need to be answered, Madam Chair. Who will be compiling the compliance requirements and where will they be filed? Under what process will the county be afforded confirmation of contractual obligations through this agreement? Stated earlier, under the normal duties of reporting and/or making reimbursement requests for grant programs, who will actually be making the reimbursement request? Who will be doing the actual FEMA reporting on this grant and future grant programs? What assurance does Broadwater County have in place that the party liable and/or responsible for the total funds and their correct usage will be adhered to? Although Mr. Higley is not a direct employee of Broadwater County, he has enjoyed a contractual relationship with the county for several years. With this relationship, the company he represents, WWC Engineering, has been afforded direct benefit for work performed. It is a concern that without a direct contract clearly delineating the responsibilities and limitations, the people of Broadwater County could face another situation where the taxpayers are left holding the bag. Proper documentation and accountability measures are not out of line to ask for as we move forward here in Broadwater County. We now also learn that there is another grant administered by Montana Department of Emergency Services that is approximately $200,000. This grant was originally applied for to cover the cost of county communication systems and was being administered by the Department of Homeland Security. At this time, there is no documentation available on this grant, leaving the citizens of Broadwater County vulnerable for the grant requirements that may have been agreed to by the previous DES coordinator. Without a contract or application, the county could stand to face another loss. I'll stop there and pause there, Madam Chair, just because I have the full respect of the folks that I'm talking about here, and maybe if you would like, we could hold off till the end here and then have some comment, but I wanted to make sure that I pause there before I go into this next.
No, I think you can go ahead.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, did you get copies?
I don't have, this is the only copy I got right now, but I certainly would love to make you some folks some copies before we get done here.
That would be great.
Is there any way we could maybe ask Ann to go and make some quick copies? You had mentioned you wanted to take a break for a second?
Well, if that's what the commission desires, certainly.
Sorry, Ann, thanks.
It's two-sided and. Okay.
And you can use the copier in the judge's room. Yeah.
Keep going.
Sure.
Well, we're
That's
making
what
copies.
so
If you
nice.
want. This one, I'm gonna practice about.
We all have those.
Gotta have. The next phase of my presentation here, Madam Chair and Commissioners, is, again, my original, need to make a clarification, and I don't want to abuse my opportunity to be before you, but I also want to make sure that I made multiple requests to have the agenda here today just to discuss these issues. So, with your indulgence, Madam Chair.
Continue.
This next phase is regarding the Montana Business Assistance Connection, known as MBAC. Recently, through the local citizens' research and investigation, we revealed another relationship in Broadwater County that deserves the transparency afforded to the people under law. MBAC has for many years enjoyed a relationship with Broadwater County. MBAC employs Mr. Brian Obert, who is often listed as a project manager and reports to the county commissioners on different projects and grant programs. It is also known that Mr. Obert is a direct relative of Mrs. Laura Obert, County Commissioner. 1. Conflict of interest exchange of property. A. Montana law under 7-8-2219 finds the sale, exchange, or donation of the county land cannot benefit directly or indirectly an employee or relative of that employee. It is claimed that Broadwater County is, in its official capacity, transferred county-owned land that was acquired by the county in 1972 to a private entity, Montana Business Assistance Corporation.
I'm going to stop you for just a minute there. What does that have to do with Deep Creek? On my agenda, it says Deep Creek project.
And again, these are all tied together, or the reason being some of the same players are part of it. But in reality, Madam Chair, it doesn't have a lot to do with the Deep Creek, and that's one of the things that's been ongoing on my agenda request.
Okay.
The agenda is not really properly noted, and if we need to reschedule or do something different, I certainly understand the need to make rules here, but with your indulgence, I would continue.
Continue.
Formerly known as MBAC, formerly known as Gateway Economic Development Corporation. This land was transferred in 2005 with restrictions. Broadwater County, over a period of time, has an ongoing relationship with MBAC, where county has provided funding that is recorded as part of its revenue. MBAC has records throughout this same period where the company employs a direct family member of the Broadwater County official. As we recognized under the process provided under 7-8-2211 to sell and exchange county property is provided for, we can show the exchange directly encompassed a process that not only benefit the direct employee and relative of an elected official, and where restrictions were lifted on the property to expedite the transfer without any public identification, or discussion on the specifics of the restrictions being requested to be lifted at the January 28th, 2013 Commission meeting. Furthermore, this process involved is in contradiction of Article 2, Sections 8 and 9 of the Montana Constitution. I'm going to speed through this because I think we're probably, as Commissioner Obert would say, maybe getting out here in the weeds on your agenda, and I don't want to abuse my privilege here, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So I'm going to go just kind of do a fast summary on this, and
That would be good.
then I will have copies for you folks, and that will facilitate less time of your day today.
Great, thank you.
The property that's in question here is the property that was acquired by the county by the bunkhouse. That's been known as in the county here as the bunkhouse property. There are several points of concern here with what's taken place, and at the very minimum, we need to look into that a little bit deeper on behalf of the citizens of Broadwater County. Another one that's here, and this comes into the reason I say they are associated is because we're talking about federal funding in many different areas here and state funding. The next portion is Department of Transportation funding, where we have the conflict of interest where there's an unsecured loan of $114,100 that was paid to a developer. Again, I'm going to that's just a point there. Another, number 3, interest with Gateway Development Corporation, also known as AMBAC, on multiple occasions. We have federal funding, which is through the PILT funding program of the state of Montana that comes through, where we have on record where Commissioner Obert has made a motion and approved up to including $90,000 of our tax dollars to MVAC, which again pulls into a possible conflict here. The next point of conflict is adequate notice. This has been raised many times in these meetings over the past several years. Adequate notice with the agenda, making clear, and again, here we are again today, the agenda is not clear of the purpose of and the discussion that's being held. So those are things that need to be corrected, and we've talked about those before. One more point, 7-8-2219 and 7-8-2211 in regarding to the bunkhouse land transfer brings lots of questions. Constitutionally right of participation, we've had that raised multiple times. Minutes of the meetings, the recording of actually what's going on has been an issue that we need to take a closer look at. The next one is Broadwater Development Corporation. Again, we're looking at federal funding through PILT and through different things that happen here. Just quick, short, to the point, we're looking at right now currently a proposal for a couple $100,000 of taxpayers' money to be used to create a recycling program here in the county. And I will just read this last part here. It is ingenuous and frankly embarrassing to think that the county officials might endorse a venture like this. The citizens stand to endure an annual loss of thousands of dollars each year to bail out yet another private entity. Towns and health systems, and I think a lot of this also, Madam Chair, really ties in closely with the year-end fiscal year budget, because a lot of these things are unknown with these standing financial situations that the county citizens face here. So towns and health systems, which is a nonprofit organization, same as Broadwater Development Corporation, enjoy funding from federal sources that come into the county, and again, there's the facility is owned by the county. Tax revenue, we're looking at thousands and thousands of dollars here, and pointing out that currently with the mill levy pending coming up this next month, the citizens are wondering how that's going to work, and with meetings recently, the towns and health system is currently still losing $160,000 a month. fiscal year county budget, again, with millions of dollars going through Broadwater County each year, we need to take a look at what we're doing and to ensure our local government is fiscally conservative. If there is a true need to utilize federal funding in Broadwater County, then the management and administration of those funds must adhere to the standards, rules, and procedures. There was a point with our law enforcement department when the detention center was making substantial amount of revenue. The errors made regarding union contracts cost the county taxpayers a substantial amount. No county official has ever been held accountable for that error. Some of the funding removed from the detention center budget was put into a contingency fund. Again, these are funds that are tax dollars. Currently being portrayed that the sheriff department is facing a substantial shortfall in this fiscal year budget. The final budget yet not been finalized, and we hope that we can make that work out, but that is another conclusion that may have an impact here. In conclusion, Madam Chair and Commissioners and the citizens of Broadwater County, at a minimum, we seek to remedy the situation by bringing this matter before the people to secure transparency and accountability. The improper use of county resources in the land transfer between MBAC, Broadwater County needs legal review, and under 2-2-203, voidable contracts. We need to seek relief and legal access to documents to seek production of requested and related documents, including all email messages between commissioners and other parties involved in these deals. Within part process of land and funding mechanisms, the citizens of Broadwater County request that in the event that the legal review finds an ethicism is that cause here, 2-3-304 MCA, we seek judicial relief necessary to remember this, remedy this on behalf of the citizens. 2-3114 provides for the relief to be granted, and it is important to expedite it, including multiple rules of civil procedure. The elected officials of Broadwater County, including but not limited to the commissioners, are hereby given notice that the people of Broadwater County will expect a full report within at least 10 days. Put that in there just for purpose of saying, hey, can we maybe expect something to happen here? In the event that insufficient response is not received, action will be taken, and I, Tim Ravndal, on behalf of citizens of Broadwater County, hereby submit this document for your review.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shawn, come on down.
Okay.
Hang on, would you like?
Go for it.
Okay. Assume I need to respond here to.
Well, I didn't want to do this, Madam Chair, excuse me, I didn't really want to do this the first time I scheduled this because you weren't there. And I thought it was appropriate for me to present this so that you could have information, and I think it might help clear some of these things up by just having a discussion. That's been one of our problems, is the failure to have discussions.
Sure.
I appreciate you being
Yeah,
here.
no
Thank you.
problem. I think, as far as the reporting, and I think that's the meat of what you're trying to get to there is, we don't have approval for the grant funding yet. Once that does come down, Montana DES will be providing us with a set of rules that we have to follow as far as grant reporting. I don't anticipate that any decisions are going to be made without county government approval, as well as Montana DES approval. And then, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to follow to the letter of the law their reporting requirements.
I might add, Madam Chair, that one of the concerns of making sure that we take these extra steps at the local level here is, since the situation that arose several months ago here in Broadwater County, we have actually uncovered similar instances in Petroleum County, be it Silver Bow County, and there's currently I guess you could say, an investigation going on in Sanders County. And the reason I bring this up is because each one of these cases comes back to, in part, a failure of the requirements at the state level with DES in these reporting requirements. Where right now we're looking at some of the folks that have been in place in DES state level are being looped. And so I think it's important on behalf of the citizens here in the county, just for that insurance, to make sure that we take a real close look at at making sure that we have that procedure in place and it's in a formal. Again, I looked at the letter that appointed Shawn to the position, and that is absolutely wide open, no parameters, unless there's been another document created since then. It just gives Shawn the authority to do this, leaving out the input of our hired DES coordinator and his input on that process.
Yeah, sure, and regardless of what any documents say, I mean, again, Mike's gonna be involved with these things, the county commissioners are gonna be involved in all these things. So, if you, as the county government wanna make that more detailed, make that more refined, the other thing to bring in mind is it's my understanding that FEMA is gonna have a representative checking at least quarterly on these grant requirements as it goes forward.
Yeah, that's standard process.
Yeah. So I would imagine that's gonna be audited as things go as well, which should hopefully alleviate some of the DES concerns.
Madam Chair, if I may ask a question here. In regards to the actual application for the 1.3 grant, could you speak to where that application is and why nobody seems to be able to get a hold of it, including Angie Mulligan?
Yeah, it's an electronic document. I have talked to Ken Atwood, who's Montana DS. I have not, I saw parts of it, obviously, when it was getting developed. I don't have the original application document, but we are getting that, and I will have that to the county, hopefully within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and the reason I raised that, Madam Chair, is because under the DES guidelines, without an application on file, there is no valid grant process. And so we're looking at, a substantial amount of money here, and not to mention the included matching grant funds, which in this particular case, we're looking at $440,000 coming out of the county to do that, whether it be in kind or soft. Soft or hard matching, it still is the tax dollars of the citizens of Broadwater County. So that is a very major concern.
Thank you. Would you want to add anything else, Shawn?
Not at this point. I think once, if FEMA approves everything and the grant actually moves forward, I think it would be prudent at that point to sit down and talk about what we need to do and the process and how you folks would like to see, everything move forward. I think right now, the plan is there is a Deep Creek Landowner Advisory Group. I've prepared all the information that I have and kind of summarized that, and that's gonna get presented at their meeting tonight. We'd really like them to be highly involved in this, since they're kind of, the citizens that are out there on the ground, as well as the Broadwater County CD. And then from that point, getting those folks engaged in the process to move this thing along, set priorities, determine where funding's gonna go. And there will be some things that Montana DES and FEMA will have to say about where the money goes based on their requirements. But, so we'll have to keep all those things in mind as we move forward.
Did you say that you've got that in the typed form report?
When I'm gonna get to the Landowner Advisory Group, yes,
Could we have a copy of that?
absolutely,
I would like a copy for each one of us.
yeah.
One other point, Shawn, that I'd like to bring up, and this is one of the concerns that even talking to some of the members on this advisory board of landowners in the Deep Creek watershed area, is some of the programs that are being brought forward, in some ways, maybe even appear to have an overlap, if you will, because we have a 319 grant, which is coming from NRCS and other state funding sources, which
And DEQ primarily.
and DEQ. So when we look at what Fish, Wildlife, and Parks has got in mind versus FEMA, and we can certainly expect and appreciate that there will have to be, in the narrow drainage of Deep Creek, that there will be some overlap there in some ideas on projects. And without having, again, coming back to the application process, to be able to delineate the separation there between the two grant funding, we could get into deep trouble here in Broadwater County by duplicating funding for the same project. So it's very important to make sure that we have all these documents in order before the rubber hits the road, so to speak.
and making sure that that administration process is in place. And Mike is here, and I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add, Mike, as far as that process and where you'd like to see. Because you
I haven't studied that grant application, I haven't seen a copy of it, I've requested it from Art, and also requested from Shawn, I think on Thursday morning. I haven't got a copy yet, but when I get that, I'll look at it. And I plan to attend tonight's meeting with the landowners, the advisory committee. They've contacted me, a couple members of the advisory committee. I want to make sure I attend tonight. You got 6:30, is it?
Could somebody please tell me what the Deep Creek Landowners Advisory Board is? I live on Deep Creek, I've never heard of it. And where's the meeting and what is it?
It's actually tonight at 6, and I'm not sure how it was formed.
I'm Sarah Seiler, but.
Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it was necessarily formed, but regardless of whether, what I'm saying is this is gonna have a pretty extensive public participation process. And I would like to notify all the landowners that are gonna be out there, so that they at least have an opportunity to come, and there won't be just one meeting, there'll be a series of them.
Who's on the board, do you know?
I do not know at this present time, so I'm just kind of getting my arms wrapped around the project and trying to get all the people together, like Mr. Ravndal was just saying. The last thing we want to do is duplicate efforts. So if we can get everybody together, make sure we know what everybody's doing, clearly define those roles, make sure there's nothing gray. Everybody has a black and white scope of what they're doing and how they're doing it, and make sure everything fits together. So
Where's this meeting gonna be
I
held?
think it's at the
Forest Service building.
Forest Service building.
Conference room.
Right,
6 o'clock?
yes.
I might add, Madam Chair, one point that needs to be remembered, and I think the landowner there brought up a good point. Our past, we shouldn't say past, but our previous DES coordinator utilized a substantial amount of funding of both federal and state, local tax dollars to go through and look at the contacts for the mitigation process up and down Deep Creek. And so that's all on record. And so, again, don't want to beat a dead horse too hard, but if we don't have that application process and have the records in place to show what's already been done, Madam Chair, Commissioners, then we do stand to do some duplication and again get in trouble for down the road finding out, well, hey, let's say Department of Homeland Security already paid for this particular mitigation process, and now here we are doing it again. What's with the program here? So, again, Madam Chair, Commissioners, members of the public, this is all about accountability and transparency, period. And I'm not up to burn any statues or anything, but at the same token, we do need to be accountable to the taxpayer.
Exactly. Shawn?
Thank you very much for your time.
You bet.
Unless you have something else for me.
No, I think, my last comments to Sarah, where we're at and where we'd like to proceed with this, and, we're gonna start with a series of meetings with the Landowner Advisory Group, the Broadwater County CD, to try to get our arms wrapped around where everything is, who's doing what grants are out there, what they're looking at for projects versus what the FEMA grant has delineated already, and, again, just make sure there's no duplication.
Good. And if you would get a copy.
Absolutely, of all the stuff that's gone through, and it's already on the agenda, so.
All right. Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
We'll have some of them
Madam
copies
Chair.
available that we can make.
Yeah, I've only made 7 copies, but if there's additional copies that are necessary, I can make more
Well,
copies.
I'm just curious. Might show up at the meeting and might need an extra copy.
Yeah, and if there are, I can certainly get addresses and get the information.
Laura?
Tim had mentioned that the applicant's agent was a new position that was created here in the county. Do you know the history of the applicant's agent position at all?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I did help with preparation of the original application, primarily because I had a lot of knowledge being their floodplain administrator of the different specific areas that were impacted for flooding purposes, and that's the whole purpose of the grant, was the 2011 presidential declaration. And that's where the money's actually coming from, is for mitigation of those circumstances, so, that's my history of that.
All right. We've actually had the position before. It's actually with FEMA, and it's common practice. I showed the document to Mike. It was Bob Mazzola and I think it was Bill Fleiner that were the two applicants, agents before. But Bob Mazzola was on there. So it's not a new position created just for the county. There's no accounting, no job description, no contract. We just signed a contract with you, didn't we?
That's
Just
for the
2
floodplain
weeks
coordinator
ago?
position, correct?
Yeah,
Well,
it's,
aren't
it's,
you-
it's for general engineering, planning, and floodplain administration services. You know, I don't know the legal aspects of exactly what he's talking about, but in general, the indemnity clauses that are in that contract should cover you as well as they cover us, so.
Because you are.
It
the
basically
county.
says you're not accountable for acts that we are performing in your stead, and we're not accountable for actions that you do outside of dealing with us.
And that contract established you as a contract county engineer,
Yes,
planning resource, and floodplain administrator,
yes,
all of which are involved in the Deep Creek project, especially the flooding
yes.
portion of it. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Further questions?
No, I will say, just for the sake of argument, there's an awful lot here that Tim got wrong. I'm not gonna go into any detail right now, but, I just want that on the record. So that's all I've got.
We will do a letter to Tim, and perhaps it can be shown right there in that letter then.
What did you say?
Pardon me?
Did you say 210, or what did you say?
I didn't say.
Oh, okay, I guess I missed everything you were saying. I was looking at the
I
back.
said, we'll be doing a letter to Tim. Answer. Where did that come from?
210, I guess, I thought you said 210, yeah. Okay.
I guess maybe I'll ask one more question, and I touched on it just really so briefly, and that's the latest discovery, if you will, of the 200 and, I don't know the exact figure, $1,000 grant for the communication project that bought the radios for the county, which includes the road department and the other different departments' needs. There again, as of this last week, nobody knew the details of that contract or that grant, and that was not available. So there again, who's responsible for following through that? And if that's the case, again, I'm not saying that's Shawn, or it might be Mike, but it
No, I
certainly
have
needs to be followed up on.
Would you answer that, please?
I have located a copy of that grant that was awarded to the county through Montana DES Homeland Security Funds. I think it's $204,000 for multiple agencies to buy radios. That grant has not been utilized. We haven't spent any money on that grant. I requested from Montana DES an extension to the end of this year. And a conversation I had with Steve Kinnett from Montana DES, a conference call. Angie Milligan was also on the phone call asking for that extension. They said that's all pending the outcome of that investigation. They indicated to us that money is available to our county until August of 2014 for us to buy those radios. Those radios were for search and rescue, EMS, county road crew, city road crew, public health. I think a couple of those radios were for the fire department because they've added more people. The radios that they purchased for the fire department has all been taken care of, and I believe the county has been reimbursed for those. And so it's just, I do have a copy of that and it's available. Anybody want to see a copy?
I would like a copy. And
Perfect.
I'm sure the other two.
Okay, will do.
That helps clear things up from the mud.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else?
Believe me, Chair, that's all I had for this morning. Appreciate your time and your indulgence.
Shawn?
I don't have anything more.
Laura?
Nope.
Franklin? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Next on there is, ooh, I'm right on time, Conrad Minor Subdivision, final plat.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Are you
Are you going to discuss the weed board or the weed issue, weed coordinator?
No, we asked for that item to be removed from the agenda, so.
Okay, how we know that, here it is in one. Thank you.
So the Conrad minor should have not listed in final plat, I'm not sure how it was listed on here. Oh, for the road construction, okay. So, I don't know if you recall or not, 2 weeks ago, Conrad's right here. Delivered this packet, this is my only one, but regarding the road and BSC construction. One of their conditions of final plat approval was to complete the portion of Carroll Drive that was already constructed. Or paid 3/50 of that, I'm sorry, so to get a bid for the construction of Carroll Drive and then pay 3/50 of it. The reason for the 3/50 we did a similar thing with Jackson Minor Subdivision. 50 lots, essentially 400 vehicle trips per day is for a #1 local minor road in our county subdivision road standards. Conrad's are doing 3 lots. So at the suggestion of Susan Swimley, to make it fair and equitable, each new lot should pay 1/50th. Conrad's are doing 3 lots, 3/50ths. So, in any case, this bid from BSC was $27,800. The 3/50th portion that the Conrads would be required to pay was $1,668. It looked like they did pay $4,502, so to me that would meet that condition. So that does not relieve them of the condition of completing Carroll Drive to the point where it was there was no or the addition of their subdivision road, Loki Lane. But this does meet that condition for the 3/50th.
So the final plat is just on the road construction.
And they're not final plotting anything. They brought this into the commissioners' meeting 2 weeks ago and had asked a question on it, so it got put on the agenda. Normally these things don't get put on the agenda, they just come right to my office and I compile this list and make sure they meet final plat approval and I bring everything to you at once.
I was thinking it's final plat approval is what I was thinking.
Oh, no, I think they just had a question on whether or not they met the 3/50th, and it appears they do.
Looks to me like they do.
So it really would require no action on the commission on the part of the commission now because there's nothing being done.
Well, for the record, you talked to Susan Swimley, who is a land use attorney hired by Montana Association of Counties. A very good one, I might add. And she said, looks good to her. Laura, questions?
No, this is kind of what I expected here, there's no surprises here. So basically, this is just a heads up, just a FYI.
Exactly, yeah, no motion or action required by the commission at this time. Once they've completed their entire list of conditions, then, they have to come back to, I'll reschedule.
How far down the road do you suspect that will be?
I so far I've only gotten this document, and the fire fee, DEQ, so we still need the engineer's report on Loki Lane, the addition of Carroll Drive, and I need to be sure that all of that road information comes back, so still need to submit that information to me as well as covenants, final plat. So really it's up to them right now, it's in their hands.
Very good. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Nicole, I couldn't hear what you were saying, what steps we still need to do.
Basically, still your list of conditions here. There's quite a few lists.
You haven't received the information on the engineering of the road? That was supposed to come in? Okay, I'll check on that.
Is it
Okay, it looks like we have a few minutes, so we'll go through some more math. Bernie, I'm sorry, Bernadette.
Speaking for Mr. Conrad and Ms. Ibarra, I think what they were asking is if completing that 200 and some feet of Carroll Drive would relieve them of the 3/50th fee. And I don't know if that was answered because I couldn't hear. But that was their initial question, is is what they had brought forward in that packet, was that, you know, they had paid, I don't remember what it was, to upgrade Carroll Drive from Jackson's driveway to the beginning of Loki Lane. And they were wondering if that could be used in exchange for the 350th.
I see, I guess I wasn't clear on what they were asking for
Yeah.
when they dropped off this packet with the commission. I think that this is something that's going to be best discussed in my office and not at the commission level, because we will need to go through these conditions of approval and make sure that they've met each of them.
So if you two would like, and Bernie, meet with Nicole and figure out what is left to be done. Any other questions? A letter from Department of Administration, State Accounting Division. And it just says the final budget has to be together with a statement of tax levy submitted to the Department of Administration no later than October 1st or 60 days after receipt of taxable values from the Department of Revenue. A letter from BLM, the field office, is in the initial stages of developing proposed project work in the Missouri River Foothills planning area near Townsend and is requesting scoping comments. The planning area consists of 5,422 acres of public land as shown on the enclosed map. And this looks to me to be on the east side of the lake.
They go to the east side too?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
No, the last map, we didn't have any on the east side there.
no. But what they're mentioning here is livestock grazing permit renewal are needed for the following 8 allotments: Avalanche, Confederate, Hidden Hollow, Hunter Creek, Little Hellgate, Lower Duck Creek, Ray Creek, and Whittycup Creek. Some adjustments to grazing regimens in these allotments and range improvement projects such as water development and fencing may be considered to improve resource health.
Oh, you got a question?
Carol.
Chair, Carol Flamo, what was that all about? They want to change the rules or what?
It says grazing permit renewals are needed for the following 8 allotments: Avalanche Creek, Confederate Gulch, Hidden Hollow, Hunter Creek, Little Hellgate, Lower Duck Creek, Ray Creek, Whittycup Creek. Some adjustments to grazing regimens in these allotments and range improvement projects such as water development and fencing may be considered to improve resources health.
And what are they asking about this? Are they gonna let the landowners know? How did the letter start?
It doesn't. There isn't, it's not addressed to anybody. But it says the Bureau of Land Management Field Office is in the initial stages of developing proposed project work on the Missouri River Foothills planning area near Townsend, Montana, and is requesting scoping comments. The planning area consists of 5,422 acres of public land as shown on the enclosed map.
So the scoping means that we should have meetings and hear what's going on?
I believe so.
That's what I understand about.
And there's no
scoping.
map with this.
And
Oh,
any
I'm
dates?
sorry, there is too.
Any dates?
And maybe Carol would want copies of the letter and the map.
That'd be nice, Laura, thanks.
Although comments will be accepted at any time throughout the process, comments submitted by October 24th would be most, of 2014, would be most helpful in development of the proposed action and EA. All to be considered, all comments must contain the name and address of the submitter. I'll give this to Anne and she can make you a copy.
And the map as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Copy of that.
Yes, give her what we're sending.
Yeah. That's all. There's an Excel workshop. A letter from the Department of Ag, Broadwater County Commissioners. Dear Commissioners, this letter is to notify you that the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is facilitating a phased purchase of 988.79 acres of land located within and adjacent to the Highland National Forest in Broadwater County. The offered lands are located in the Big Belt Mountains, overlook Canyon Ferry Lake, and Upper Missouri River, northeast of Townsend. The lands are adjacent to other National Forest System lands.
Is that the Neal property, Madam Chair?
I'm looking here, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Pardon me?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it says Ray Creek, so undoubtedly it is. Yep. For years, the Forest Service, conservation organizations, and local community have sought to acquire and conserve the historic Neal Ranch. The family, Four Sisters Neal Family Partnership, is now offering this special property to the Forest Service and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for public acquisition at appraised value. And anybody that wants a copy of this,
Thank you.
okay?
Please.
A letter from Gerald Willett at Goose Bay. Dear Commissioners, it's time again to request help to fix Goose Bay Road. About 4 weeks ago, the road was graded and gravel applied. The fix lasted for about 10 days, and now it is as bad as it ever was. The solution should come from both Broadwater County Road Department and the Federal Bureau of Reclamation. I understand the county is responsible for the first 1 mile of Goose Bay Lane from Highway 284. However, BOR bears the responsibility for the terrible condition of the road because they own the rest of the road, approximately 2 miles, and they produce 95 to 98% of all the traffic that travels the road. The reason for the high percentage is the recreational opportunities the BOR provides, such as free camping and boat launching. These opportunities attract people from all over our state as well as from many other states. Goose Bay Lane is a dirt road that gets torn up quite fast due to the federal park traffic, consisting mainly of triple haulers, a large pickup pulling a 36 or so, or a fifth wheeler to which is attached a fair-sized boat between the 18 and 20 feet. Any Friday during the summer, especially before a holiday, these rigs come one after another, seemingly hundreds of them. That isn't all. Other large trucks beat up the road, such as UPS, FedEx, and even some Gulf Branch trucks. It seems they travel as fast as the truck's governor will allow, with the big billowing clouds of dust following. They are not alone. I've witnessed single vehicles flying down our road at speeds exceeding 60 miles an hour. One theory I've heard for running high speeds over dirt waves is to ride the peaks in the washboard surface. They make rides smoother for them. This thinking is dangerous. The behavior sets up an unstable situation, making the vehicle prone to skidding or even rolling over. Now that the federal government is planning to spend millions on the Goose Bay Recreation Area, it is the perfect opportunity for Broadwater County Commissioners to get together with Goose Bay Reclamation and finally put a permanent fix, blacktop is what they would like, to the ever deteriorating Goose Bay Road. Once again, our road destruction is mainly caused by the large number of vehicles heading to the BOR property. The other part of this problem is the speeding element. There are currently no speed limit signs on Goose Bay Lane. Posting signs on entering Goose Bay Lane and again when leaving the marina area would help. There will never be a better opportunity for a permanent solution to our problem. The Goose Bay Marina and Park is scheduled for a serious upgrade. Let's now, once and for all, upgrade our road along with it. Sincerely, Gerald Willett. Copy of this letter was sent to Senator Baucus and Tanster and Representative Steve Gaines. We will,
When was the letter sent again?
September 19th,
Okay.
just a couple weeks ago.
Okay, that's it. Well, oh, but that gravel road was last spring, wasn't it?
And they just did, they're
Did
doing
they
it
do some
again.
more again then? But anyway,
Since about 4 weeks ago, the road was graded and gravelled.
oh, okay.
Dana's actually put, had crew on that road about once a month since, for sure since the spring and before that as well. But it's just one of those roads that needs a little bit more assistance. You know, they grade it and it just takes no time for it to get to washboards and dust with the amount of use.
We've contacted BOR, I don't know how many times, and they refuse to help.
I think we should get on it, like he suggested there. They're gonna put this money in that campground, so they can add some more money to. put on
I would
this
think
road.
so, and we've told them that, but it falls on deaf ears. So we'll try it one more time and see what happens.
I think we should definitely try it. I think we should exhaust every single avenue we can think of to try it. I think we need to be realistic also. That we just, our most recent letter about PILT said right in that letter that one of the reasons that PILT is given to counties is to help offset exactly these situations. That was the response we got last time from BOR is, you guys get PILT and PILT is for that. Well, everybody will tell you what PILT is for, and the honest truth is that there isn't a use for PILT. So, you know, it seems to me that, yeah, let's exhaust every opportunity, but let's also get proactive and do something. I would suggest that we contact through our planning department, every landowner and see if they wanna come together for a public meeting to do a road plan. And work together with the county to get some mag at the very least on there, maybe some new gravel.
I'll give this to you, Nicole.
Certainly, I actually have a copy of it, and I'd be happy to do that, to basically just every landowner that uses Goose Bay Lane, I'll draft a letter just asking them if they would consider coming to a public meeting. I won't set the public meeting date in the letter. I want to be sure that I can get some responses back, that these people would be interested to coming together to meet with the county. Maybe not at a commission meeting, but a separate evening meeting. I think that would be convenient for these folks.
Very good.
I think
talk
we
about
should stay
some
right
options.
on
Yep,
BOR with this project, being they're gonna be putting that project down there.
I think
They
if we
can
keep
spend
hammering,
200,000 or 400, what they're talking about, they can sure put some money to work with us on this road.
I agree.
And the thing is I agree, but what authority do we have to demand? I mean, they're a partner, they can say no, just all
Well,
too
they might say
easily.
no, but we can sure do everything we can, and let it be known.
And I think we should. The other thing I wanted to say is also for those homeowners, that there isn't room for misunderstanding. I don't think that, and I think this can actually add some strength to our side of the argument. I think that if we do work with the citizens, if they're interested, it should just be where they live. I don't think that they should be on any kind of a financial hook or even misunderstood financial hook of covering the whole road. And so I think that needs to be made clear. And if we do something for that first mile, maybe it would help shame BOR into stepping up with the construction that they have going on, so that we have a little bit of teeth to our argument. Just saying, gosh darn it, you should do this for us, is not gotten us anywhere, and it's not going to. But if we can do something proactive, I think it gives us a little bit more argument strength.
John,
John Hill, I would suggest on some of these roads that they put a speed limit on. Because I know if I drive 30 to 35, I don't kick up as much dust as I do at 45. But you know, if you're going 55 or 60, you're gonna kick up more of the dust and deteriorate the roads more.
that's right. Thank you. Carol?
I have a comment. The road crew did a wonderful job on the beginning of Duck Creek from the highway east. And I was told that it's the material that's on the road that makes a difference. And after they put nice material on that road, it's very nice. In fact, I think it's better than asphalt. If you get a hole in the asphalt, you've got a big hole. But the other can be, gravelled over. But I think they gotta start with some decent material. that would be the thing to do, and it'd make a big, huge difference. And I don't know about that big traffic down there, but it really is on Upper Duck Creek.
Thank you. Mike, come on up.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Carol, was that Duck Creek or Deep Creek?
Duck Creek, thank you very much. Quick.
Pass those out.
I'm glad I write this down before I thought.
Members of the commission, my name is Mike Koehnke, your interim DES coordinator. Today we're going to talk about Title III forestry money. And I